Welcome back. We're going to continue where Isikhumbuzo, it's a group exhibition that breathes new life into South Africa's history, making it both vivid and unforgettable. Now centered around powerful and iconic photographs by legendary apartheid photographers, including the likes of Mike Mzileni, Len Khumalo and the late Peter Magubane. The exhibition, it highlights the resilience and the struggle, also just the humanity of those who lived through the era. It also creates a space for remembrance, education and dialogue, ensuring that the stories of those who fought and suffered are preserved and revered, of course, for generations to come. One of the artists showcasing is Ntikana Ramohlale, joining us here in studio for more. Ntikana, good morning. Thank you for joining us at this hour.
Thank you for having me.
Congrats. Isikhumbuzo Exhibition. It's an important one during this Youth Month in particular.
Yes.
And if we look at that baton that's been handed over from some of the greats that I've just mentioned now.
Yes.
Talk to us about the inspiration and what that really meant for you as you obviously portrayed your work through it.
Okay. So Isikhumbuzo is basically a group exhibition that basically arises out of the backdrop of, I guess, a long-standing history of erosion and erasure of like our documented histories as like Black people.
Yeah.
So it basically forms a direct response to this issue that faces Black people and perhaps even compromises our ability to self-actualize or to even find pride within like our immediate lived realities. So basically the group of artists that are going to be exhibiting try to sort of like shed light on our lived realities. They also draw a lot of inspiration from the photographers that you mentioned.
Yes.
And I guess their works are basically in conversation and allow us to sort of like juxtapose how far we've come as a society, looking at the works that they've created and the works that we are creating, sort of like making a comparison from 76 up until like post 94.
And let's get into that, because obviously what's unearthed then, I mean, is it hopeful? And what conversations, what narratives are you trying to then, have through this? Let's say 31 years into own democracy and beyond.
I guess the works speak to the complexity of everyday life, which is, I guess I'd say at best, contradictory and paradoxical, to say the least. Sometimes there's works that show people showing resilience even in the midst of adversity. So sure. I think some of the works that you showcase now, the men wearing an ANC t-shirt, sort of like highlights the problems that we face even post 94. Sort of like the corruption, basically government maladministration and so on. But even in the face of such adversities, I think you still find Black kids. Some of the works that will be showcasing show like Black kids smiling, even in sort of like poor townships, for instance. So there's an element of hope, even though there's still like sort of like issues that plague society. And
also, again, to your point about the hopes of justice and reconciliation and the strides that have been taken as well, given the arms and of our government and how it's being implemented and utilized. And, I thank you for speaking to the contradictions and the nuances as well, because obviously mitigating against triple threats of poverty and unemployment and inequality, we are also looking at just the use of art itself in having these conversations, right? Because we're obviously seeing the commentary on news fronts, etc., but through this lens where a picture can tell 1,000 words, to say the least. And in the same breath, you could then listen in 1,000 ways as well.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that, the power of that medium.
I guess art is quite important. I think even though the importance of it, I would say, is overlooked.
Yes.
Because most conversations happen within the spaces of arts. I guess even like during the COVID era, we're able to see just how important art is. But I would say the biggest problem that faces us as artists and just our ability to tell South African stories is, I guess, the lack of funding. Like even the previous interview that you had is basically just the lack of funding. But I guess it allows us to sort of like have our own forms of activism. So you don't necessarily have to go out and march. You can simply just take a picture, or you can make a song about some of the struggles that face society in present day. So I guess it's the most accessible form of activism and sort of like creating conversations around the issues that plague us.
What was the most challenging aspect for you in compiling all of this? I wonder if we're looking at also what was changed inside of you.
Yes.
How were you forever changed through the experience?
I guess the biggest challenge for me has been just reconciling myself with how much suffering exists. I think a lot of my work is based in the Eastern Cape, in the township of Makanda, where I was based for the past 8 years. So that community is marked by a lot of poverty, and being in those spaces allowed me to sort of like just see the everyday struggles that people go through. For me, that was a challenging aspect, particularly because there isn't a bit of hope. Every time that I take a picture of someone, they have a conversation, they always rush to have a conversation about how they need help, how they need us to come photograph sort of like the clubs that they have that are not getting sort of like support from the government. So for me, that has always been the challenging aspect, that every day that you sort of like try to photograph people, they are going to sort of like offload their challenges to you. They see you as a sort of like a beacon of hope of sorts. Yes.
Well, you know, it's obviously accessibility is key, and you get to showcase that now, and you know, they do become a focal point for people to accept that this is the reality, but also how we reimagine what's possible going forward. Thank you for being part of these conversations and for playing your part as well. Obviously mitigating against those challenges. You're still trying to be part of that unity project and nation building and social cohesion. So thank you. And we're just wishing you all the best of luck as your work continues.
Thank you.
This morning, photographer Ntikana Ramohlale joining us, just chatting about the Isikhumbuzo Exhibition. It's opening on the 16th of June. He was part of you know, that exhibition. We're looking at the past, the present, the future, and what hope, reconciliation, justice looks like at large. Again, lots of conversations with more questions than answers, but for now, we'll leave it there.